Chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet nishtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityaṁ bhāgavata-sevayā bhagavati uttama-shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, dear worshipable devotees, thank you so much for joining. So yesterday, His Grace Śrī Mahāprabhu and other devotees facilitated this wonderful reading of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 20, entitled The Dynasty of Pūru. So anyone remembers who is the father of Pūru?
Yayati.
Yes, thank you so much, Prabhuji, the father of Pūru Yayati. Pūru was the one who exchanged the youth. So we are talking about his descendants. So we read till text 11 yesterday.
I believe we have to begin from 11.
Okay. Okay, then let's do that. So
I take that back, Prabhuji. Can you go down a little bit? Yeah, I think we may have to begin from 12. I think.
12. Okay, perfect. Sure, Prabhuji. We can begin from text 12 today. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. So, Vyaktam Rajanya Tanayam Vedmya Aham Tvam Sumadhyame Nahi Cheta Parvanam Nahi Chetaha Parvanam Adharme Ramate Kvachit. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O beautiful one, it appears to my mind that you must be the daughter of a Kshatriya. Because I belong to Pūru dynasty, my mind never endeavors to enjoy anything irreligiously. Maharaj Dushmanta indirectly expressed his desire to marry Shakuntala, for she appeared to his mind to be the daughter of some Kshatriya king. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So just to give a brief background, so this story of Dushmanta and Shakuntala starts after some of the descendants, the lineage of Pūru is shared here. So Dushmanta meets Shakuntala when he was going to forest for hunting, and he was tired. He came close to the ashram of Kanva Muni, and then he saw this beautiful woman named Shakuntala. And then Dushmanta spoke that, who are you and whose daughter are you? That means who's your father? And why are you in this forest alone and things like that? And he continues to speak. So this verse is basically Dushmanta speaking to Shakuntala. That you must be the daughter of a Kshatriya king. And the next line, the second line is really quite deep. If we observe carefully, Adharme ramate kvachit. Na adharme ramate kvachit. It means my mind does not dwell in things which are irreligious. At any time, kvachit. And we discuss in the text number 1 of this chapter that we are talking about, who remembers? Kings? Talking about saintly kings. They are referred to as Raj Rishis. So they were not just kings, they were Raj Rishis. And the symptom of great kings is that their mind does not dwell in things which are irreligious. Yes, they get married. Yes, they get married to multiple queens. Yes, they have wives. But it is still not adharma if it is done as per the religious codes. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 7:11, Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitah dharma aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. That sex life which is not contrary to religious principles, I am that sex life, Krishna says. So basically that's what is kind of happening here, that Dushmanta is telling to Shakuntala that my mind does not dwell in irreligious. My mind does not get attracted to any so-called, women. So since my mind is going there, you must now who can say that in this world, that my mind never endeavors to enjoy anything irreligious? It's a very big statement to say. And only great souls can say that my mind does not dwell. Raman means to dwell. Yehi sansparshaja bhoga dukkhayo nivevati adyantavantu konteya nateshu ramate buddha. Again that word Raman is coming. Nateshu ramate buddha. We can link to 522 of Bhagavad Gita also. So there, the minds of great people do not dwell in the things which are irreligious or which are not connected to religion. So that much level of mind control they had. So I really thought to bring that point out. It really struck me. And we can take great lessons that let my mind not be attracted to anything which is irreligious. Let my mind always be attracted to Krishna. Savai manah Krishna padaravindayo. And he is the essence of all religion. So any other comments anyone wants to share in this particular text? Okay, let's read the next verse, text number 13. Let's see what Shakuntala says to Dushmanta. Anyone who didn't get a chance yesterday wants to read?
Yeah, I can read. So, text 13. Hare Kṛṣṇa devotees. Śrī Caitanya Vacha Vishvamitra Majai Vaham Yaktya Menakaya Vane Vedayatad Bhagavan Kanvo Vira Kim Karvama Te. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Shakuntala said, I am the daughter of Vishwamitra. My mother Menaka left me in the forest. O hero, the most powerful saint, Kanva Muni, knows all about this. Now let me know how may I serve you. Purport. Shakuntala informed Maharaj Dushmanta that although she never saw or knew her father or mother, Kanva Muni knew everything about her, and she had heard from him that she was the daughter of Vishwamitra and that her mother was Menaka, who had left her in the forest. Hare Kṛṣṇa, back to you, Prabhu.
Hare Kṛṣṇa, thank you so much. Here we see Shakuntala's honesty here, that she is just speaking what was told to her as it is by Kanva Muni. So she didn't get chance to see her She never saw or knew who her father or mother was. But she heard from authority like Kanva Muni. I was thinking this is a great reflection on who is our real father, who is our real mother. We may have not seen Krishna. Krishna is Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dhana Pran. Pitaham asya jagato Mata Dhata Pitamaha. That he is our everything. Yes, we may have not seen. I may have not seen because of my attachment in this forest of this material world. Samsara Dava, Naradida Loka. But the great souls, the Guru, the Sadhus, the Shastras explain to us who is our true mother, true father, and why I'm in this forest. So we can link it to how Shakuntala was told by Kanva Muni. So similarly, we are told by Guru Sadhu Shastra. So we need to have faith in their words, not having faith in the words of any Tom, Dick, Harry, but having faith in the words of the right Guru, the right teachers, the right Guru Parampara is very important. Otherwise, to know by oneself, now just think about, she had not seen her parents. The analytical approach to figure out parents would have been so difficult. The experimental approach, as His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu says, if one has to test the DNA of all the potential mothers and fathers, it'll take hundreds and hundreds of years. But hearing from authority helps to understand. So scriptures are the authority, Guru is the authority to know about the real father, real mother, and that's Śrī Krishna. So she was a daughter of Vishwamitra Muni and was a mother, Menaka. We have discussed, I think Sridhar Prabhu was mentioning the story that how Menaka was sent by Indra to allure Vishwamitra Muni so that he does not get the position of Indra. Okay, any other thoughts or comments here? Anyone has?
I have one question. Is this Kanva the same Kanva who came earlier in the text 6? As a grandson of Ratin Nava. No, Ritye, I think. You know.
Text number 6.
Yeah. He had only one son. Aprata had only one son, whose name was
Apratihara, Kanva, Nidhavati. I'm not sure, Prabhu, so I can't say for certain. If anyone else has a comment, it's...
The text 7, Prabhuji, it's written, the son of Kanva was Medatithi. So, looks like Maharaj Dushmanta's grandfather is Kanva. Text 7.
Yeah, I see that, but we can't say for sure unless anyone has heard directly. It may be same, it may not be same. So I will leave it there again, unless anyone else has a very specific point. From text 7, it's hard to say if it's the same Kanva or not. It may be, it may not be. Let's see if it gets unveiled, but that should not really affect us if it's same or not. Okay, let's read the next verse, text number 14. So she's asking, how can he serve Dushmanta? Anyone wants to read?
Hare Kṛṣṇa, Prabhuji. Can I read?
Yes, Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam, everyone. Text 14. Asyatam hi aravindaksha grihayatam arhanam chanaha bhujyatam santi nivara usyatam yadi rochate. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. O King, with eyes like the petals of a lotus, kindly come, sit down, and accept whatever reception we can offer. We have a supply of Nivara rice that you may kindly take, and if you so desire, stay here without hesitation. So here Shakuntala is talking to Dushmanta and showing her hospitality to the king by requesting him to sit and have some food, and asking him to be comfortable. Back to you, Prabhuji. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Thank you, Mataji. Quite straightforward. Looks like a special type of rice, Nivara rice. There are multiple varieties of rice even now also. So what to speak of the previous ages. It's a great sign of your guest reception also. Atithi Devo Bhava. And we have seen that in multiple sections of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. What to speak of a Raja Rishi, even if an enemy comes at the home, such hospitality should be given that they forget that they have come to the home of an enemy. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has multiple sections about it. So let's see what happens further. Yes, Kashish Mataji, you want to read?
Ji Prabhuji, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Dandavat Pranam. Dandavat Pranam, all glories. Dandavat Pranam, all devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Text number 15. Shri Dushmanta Uvacha Upapannam idam supru Jataya kushikan baye Swayam hi vranate ragyam Kanyakaha satrisham varam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. King Dushmanta replied, O Shakuntala, with beautiful eyebrows, you have taken your birth in the family of the great saint Vishwamitra, and your reception is quite worthy of your family. Aside from this, the daughters of a king generally select their own husbands. Purport. In her reception of Maharaj Dushmanta, Shakuntala clearly said, Your Majesty may stay here and you may accept whatever reception I can offer. Thus she indicated that she wanted Maharaj Dushmanta as her husband. As far as Maharaj Dushmanta was concerned, he desired Shakuntala as his wife from the very beginning. As soon as he saw her, so the agreement to unite as husband and wife was natural. To induce Shakuntala to accept the marriage, Maharaj Dushmanta reminded her that as the daughter of a king, she could select her husband in an open assembly. In the history of Aryan civilization, there have been many instances in which famous princesses have selected their husbands in open competitions. For example, it was in such a competition that Sita Devi accepted Lord Ramachandra as her husband and that Draupadi accepted Arjuna, and there are many other instances. So, marriage by agreement or by selecting one's own husband in an open competition is allowed. There are 8 kinds of marriages, of which marriage by agreement is called Gandharva marriage. Generally, the parents select the husband or wife for their daughter or son, but Gandharva marriage takes place by personal selection. Still, although marriage by personal selection or by agreement took place in the past, we find no such thing as divorce or disagreement. Of course, divorce by disagreement took place among low-class men, but marriage by agreement was found even in the very highest classes, especially in the royal Kshatriya families. Maharaj Dushmanta's acceptance of Shakuntala as his wife was sanctioned by Vedic culture. How the marriage took place is described in the next verse. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Back to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji. So in short, both of them were attracted towards each other. Both of them were from high parentage, namely Dushmanta being the dynasty of King Pūru, Nityaṁ, Shakuntala, the dynasty of great King Vishwamitra, who later became the great Brahma Rishi. We have studied about him in the previous chapters where we were talking about Parshuram, and how the charu was exchanged. So they were from very high parentage, and this was totally religious and ethical and legal, and as per the 8 kinds of marriage, and this is called Gandharva Vivaha. So by mutual agreement, or also like even we see the case of Draupadi Mata, Swayamvara. Swayam is myself, Vara means husband, so they choose by sometimes competition, even in Sita Mata's case, in Draupadi Maharani's case. So Gandharva Vivaha, and there are other kinds of marriages also. So like how we see that Rukmini was stolen by Krishna. That's another type of marriage. So the point here is that Prabhupada is mentioning that marriage by agreement is even in the higher classes, but divorce by disagreement is not good. There was no such thing. Divorce by disagreement. Love at first sight, divorce at first fight. These days, divorce rates are very high. But to speak of outside the world, even in society of religious people, ISKCON society, the number is quite high. Why? Because of multiple reasons. Therefore, we should try to be good examples. There was no such thing as divorce by disagreement. Because I think I was just hearing a class by ISKCON Prabhu before this program. In this whole series of chapters in Canto 9, and there is a point here. The point is how Yayati Maharaj was trying to enjoy, not satisfied. So lust cannot be satiated. Now there is scientific research, or there are statistics available. Now if a person is divorced and gets married again, now what the logical thinking would be that okay, that person may have learned some lessons, and now he or she will have a better married life. Right? That's the logic would say, correct? But the results are totally opposite. The likelihood of their second marriage getting in a breakup or divorce is even higher. I don't know the exact numbers. The people who marry again after the divorce, their chances of separation are even higher. And there are sometimes second divorce, and in US, third divorce, fourth divorce, fifth divorce, I don't know. It keeps going. And it's not that after that their marriages are very stable. Maybe some cases, but the percentage of second marriage getting in divorce is even higher than the first marriage getting in divorce. That's a fact. You can check it. So the point is that lust or selfish desires will never be satisfied. As His Grace Anuttama Prabhu was mentioning here in his visit, that in relationships, any relationship, god brother, god sister, marriage, husband, wife, daughter, son, any relationship, it's more about how I can serve the other. Life should be other-centric, not self-centric. When the relationship of the marriage is the self, what can my wife do for me? What can my kids do for me? What can he or she do for me? Then it will always end in disruption. But when the focus changes for what can I do for others? What can I do for my wife? What can I do for my children? Keeping Krishna as the center, then one will be happy. And whatever they do or don't do, one will be grateful. Because that's the principle of Trinadapi Sunichena. To not think what they are doing for me, because that's not Trinadapi Sunichena. Or Amanina Manadina. Giving all respects and expecting none. So giving all the love, care, respect, gratitude to others, to husband, wife, children, etc., but expecting none in return. That's practical application in relationships. And if one has that, then there is absolutely no question of divorce. So just thought to share what I got reminded of from their class yesterday or day before. Any other thoughts or comments anyone has? Yes, Srila Prabhu, please.
Hare Kṛṣṇa, Prabhuji. I was just, it is very difficult to understand the timeline in Bhagavatam. But here we have Menaka. I presume obviously Vishwamitra did several tapasyas. And the episode with Menaka is one of the initial tapasya which he broke. So Vishwamitra was during the period of Lord Ramchandra. So it seems that is Menaka, what is her timeline? I mean, because it seems it is still in Treta Yuga, if it is, based on Vishwamitra's timeline, or maybe the beginning of Dwapara.
Yes, true. I think. Is that a comment or a question? Or
It is a kind of an, I'm trying to analyze like how long they all, I mean, their duration were obviously quite long, but it's beyond our kind of material perception. You can construe that as a comment.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Sometimes we see these sages, they don't just live through the yugas, they live through the Chatur-yugas also. What to speak of living through Chatur-yugas, they live through Manvantaras also. So in one mantra, there are 71 cycles of Chatur-yugas. So some of these sages pass through one Manvantara to other Manvantara as well. What to speak of passing through cycles of Chatur-yugas or different yugas. So yes, it's very hard to connect. So thank you, Prabhu, for your comment. Okay, so let's read the next verse, which is text number 16. Anyone wants to read that? Wasn't read yesterday, especially. Let's give chance to those who didn't get chance yesterday. Everyone got chance? Okay, then we go for seconds. Yes, Vijaya Mataji, and then Lakshay can read.
Yes. Text Hare Kṛṣṇa, text 16. Omit yukte yatha dharma upayeme Shakuntalam Gandharva vidhina raja deshakala vidhanavita. Translation. When Shakuntala responded to Maharaja Dushmanta's purpose with the silence, the agreement was complete. Then the king, who knew the law of marriage, immediately married her by chanting the Vedic pranav, Omkara, in accordance with the marriage ceremony as performed among the Gandharvas. Purport. The Omkara pranav is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, represented by letters. Bhagavad Gita says that the letters Om combined together as Om represent the Supreme Lord. Religious principles are meant to invoke the blessing and mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who says the Bhagavad Gita that he is personally present in sexual desire that are not contrary or religious principles. The word vidhina means according to religious principles. The association of man and woman according to religious principle is allowed in the Vedic culture. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we allow marriage on the basis of religious principle. But the sexual combination of man and woman is as a friends in irreligious and is not allowed. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for reading this verse. So nicely shared here again, the same point that this was marriage based on the Vedic culture, based on Vedic pranava. He knew the mantras, and right at that very spot, based on time, place, situation, in accordance with the marriage ceremony, was performed, and basically they both got married. And again, Prabhupada quotes 7:11 of Bhagavad Gita, that yes, men and women, they can, if they have to come together, the only institution is the Grihastha ashram, where they can marry and have Krishna conscious children. But the center should be the Supreme Lord. Not illicit affairs outside marriage or before marriage is certainly condemned and is sinful. And we see that a lot in today's day and age. Before marriage, young teenagers getting into all this, and therefore they don't want to study, they don't want to pursue higher things, what to speak of spiritual knowledge, even materially. College dropouts, school dropouts. Why? Because of lack of higher purpose. They're so much caught up in the lower taste. Even materially, there is no motivation to work or to pursue higher education, or to speak of thinking beyond that, to pursue spiritual education. And even outside, because all the TVs, movies, and everything, these discourse clubs, what not goes over there. So one has to be very careful. So marriage on the basis of religious principles, for proper taking the responsibility. It's not enjoyment on the basis of principles. It's Grihastha ashram. Ashram is a place, Prabhupada says, where spiritual culture is always foremost. Spiritual culture is always foremost. Any other thoughts anyone has? Yes, Sridhar Prabhu, please share something.
Hare Kṛṣṇa, Prabhuji. It is so true that marriages should be based on a religious principle. We see in the modern, in the generation, that people want to get married in a place like Las Vegas, in a casino, with no kind of religious, philosophy. And we know the outcome that they say, especially in Western countries, on an average, people get married like 3 times. That's on average. It's a very sad statistics, but unfortunately, that is what the younger generation is gearing for. This is what they want to do, and it's lack of the philosophy, religious philosophy.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing. That's really a sad statistic. 3 times average, and that's what the children and grandchildren are seeing. Recently, I was traveling in an airplane, and there was a couple, maybe in their 70s or at least late 60s, and they seem to be quite jolly and which is good. And I just strike the conversation, and I happened to ask, looks like you've been married for a very long time. And they said, yeah, 2 days. So they recently got married. And initially, things seemed very rosy-cozy, but the struggle of growing through the marriage is understanding, patience, children, tolerance. That's the main thing, which to not give up. That's where dharma comes. Therefore, it's a very important institution. Okay, text 17. Yeah.
Prabhuji, actually, another one comment Prabhu wants to read. So here we see a lot of people, especially in this country, they got married at very late, as you said, because they're lonely. That is the main purpose to get married. So I know a lot of couples, they come to me. So they just get married because of loneliness, and they can help each other to lead. Just a comment. So help each other.
Companion. Yeah.
Yeah. And some people carry pets, right? I see a lot of people have their stroller and their pets in there, not kids. So again, it's a big topic, and we can share. Let's just pray so that everyone can become Krishna conscious. Okay, let's read next verse, text 17. Yes, Akshay, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Amoga Vidya Rajarshir Mahisham Vidyam Adade Svabhute Swapuram Yata Kalen Asuta Sasutam. Translation: King Dushmanta, who never discharged semen without a result, placed the semen at night in the womb of his queen Shakuntala, and in the morning he returned to his palace. Therefore, in due course of time, Shakuntala gave birth to a son. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for again a very powerful verse. So there are multiple lectures on this topic. Brahmacharya and Krishna consciousness is a whole book by some Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. Semen is very, very powerful energy. It's called the Saptadhatu. 100 or 1,000 drops of blood make 1 drop of semen. So it should not be wasted. It should be used for having Krishna conscious children. Again, easier said than done. It is nowadays because of social media and internet and this and that. So many allurements, so many traps of Maya are there, and there are very few people in this world who are able to say that they never wasted their semen only and used it only for Krishna conscious child, like here the great Rajarishi Dushmanta. And they are basically called Neshtik Brahmachari, who have never wasted a drop of semen without a result. And that semen is also very potent. It's very powerful as well. So the point is, one should not waste it. There's a nice book by His Holiness Dhanavir Maharaj, and maybe Shri Prabhu can tell a bit more about that. The book is entitled Brain Gain. Brain Gain, as if the semen is not wasted, it will go up and nourish the brain and active and help us to understand spiritual substance. As we see, we see the great brahmacharis who say they look so young, even if they're like 50s, 60s, but they look like 30s or 40s. Why? Because of they're not wasting their precious body energy, their aura, their vitality, their strength, their spiritual strength, their bodily strength in all aspects comes from all the different aspects. And certainly brahmacharya is one of those. You say, take any examples, I'm just giving a few examples. Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj must be at least like, I don't know exactly, 55 years or more. Right? Close to 60 years, I think. It looks like maybe 35 or less than 40, right? The brilliance, the aura, the clarity of thought, the memory, right? It's all linked. Any other comments anyone has? Yes, Prabhu, please.
Hare Kṛṣṇa, Prabhuji, very rightly said, two of current Indian leaders are brahmacharis, and they have really done so well in different aspects of governing and their philosophical thoughts and upbringing the society, community overall. They've been excellent leaders. So yeah, that's true. Brahmachari, people who have taken it seriously, it does have a very, very high positive result.
Thank you so much. And in that book of His Holiness Dhanavir Maharaj, he also quotes not just the Vedic spiritualists, he also quotes like scientists like Pythagoras. They also mention the importance of brahmacharya, who developed the Pythagoras theorem. And many other also have shared about the importance of brahmacharya. And our Ayurveda says this is the Saptadhatu, the blood, mucus, bone marrow, and ultimately semen. It's like the 7 stages of refinement, one after the other, from blood it's made. So one should be very careful. Ashish Prabhu, where are you joining from? Just curious. And there are so many Ashish. So is it Ashish Tripathi Prabhu or who? Can you unmute and speak? Okay, Lakshya, you have your hand up. You want to say something?
Yes, but I have a question. I think this chapter's name is Dynasty of Pūru Maharaj. How did they like in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam they have like one name, so how did they choose which name to put? Like how to say which dynasty it is?
It's a good question. Thank you. So basically, it's in the lineage of Maharaj Jayati, who is in the lineage of the moon, if you remember. So in this particular chapter is starting about, I think I shared let me share a chart with which I shared earlier before the class. So I'm going to share that with everyone. So you see this chart here. This chapter basically begins that, O Parikshit, I shall now describe to you the dynasty of Pūru, King Pūru, in which there were great saintly kings and brahmanas appear. So generally, whoever is the main person, like in the previous chapters, the King Yayatis was the main, like King Yayati regains his youth. So who is the main hero? The chapter is basically named after that in most cases. That's a kind of a good way to understand it. Does that help?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Anyone wants to add? It's a very good question. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, a very nice question. So I was listening to, as I said, Amala Bhakta Swami Maharaj. He said that, when King Yayati cursed the first 4 sons, and Yadu's sons were called Yadus, and that's where Lord Krishna comes from that. And Turvasu are, I think, Yavanas. Dhruvu's sons were called Bhojas, and Anu's sons were Malechas, very lower caste, and Puru's sons were called Kurus, where the Kauravas and Pandavas come from. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. Okay, let's read 1 or 2 more. So we are read text 18. Yes, Sudhir Prabhu, you want to read?
I'm on mute, sorry. Hare Krishna devotees, Dandat Pranam, or Krishna Śrī Prabhupada, text number 18. Kanva Kumarasya Vane Chakre Samchuta Kriya Bhatva Mragendram Tara Sa Kridati Smasa Balaka. In the forest, Kanva Muni performed all the ritualistic ceremonies concerning the newborn child. Later, the boy became so powerful that he would capture a lion and play with it. So, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, as we know that King Dushmanta had a son with Shakuntala, and now King Kanva, in the forest, Kanva Muni, after Dushmanta left, Kanva Muni took care of all the ceremonies and everything for the newborn child, and that child became so powerful that he was able to capture, even a lion and make it as a pet. So that much powerful he was. Back to you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Any children playing with lions here? The Kshatriyas used to play actually. Real lion, not with the guns. They were so powerful that they could rip apart lion by their hands. That was their strength. And there are multiple stories also in this regard. So, and also we see the various samskaras, the various ritualistic ceremonies or samskaras were also done concerning that. There are a lot of samskaras, especially even in the first 12 months of when the baby is born. So many ceremonies are there. The Annaprashan ceremony, the Mundan ceremony, the Jatakarma ceremony, there's there, the Aditya Darshanam, so many ceremonies are there, which are basically opportunities to get closer to the Supreme Lord. So all those were done in the past by the great souls. So we should also try to continue to keep that legacy. They help to get the blessings of great souls in the sadhus, the Vaishnavas. So, very powerful child. One last verse. Now, Prabhu, you want to read? And then we'll pause for.
Text 19. Tam duratyaya vikrantam adaya pramodatma harer amsamsa sambhutam bhartur antikam agamat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Shakuntala, the best of beautiful women, along with her son, whose strength was insurmountable and who was a partial expansion of the Supreme Godhead, approached her husband, Dushmanta. So, as we know, Dushmanta had left just after brief relationship with Shakuntala, and then he gets back to his kingdom and he gets very busy with his kingly activities, and he has totally forgotten about Shakuntala altogether. I believe there are a couple of variations in the episode. One is that Dushmant, he gives a ring at the time of marriage to Shakuntala as a kind of a marriage ring. And since she did not hear anything from Dushmanta for a very long time, she now decided that she should go and meet with Dushmanta. Now, when she approaches, maybe we will read this in the next few verses, but very briefly, here, Dushmanta kind of refuses her. He rejects. He says, I don't even remember you. You have just come here with this young boy. I don't remember anything, So it seems like the ring helps her to show, and he regains all his remembrance, how he got married, and then he accepts. That is one variation. The other variation is that there is a sound from Akashvani. It says, Dushmanta, this is your wife and a very legitimate son, Bharata. And there is also a third variation where Vishwamitra himself, Vishwamitra is one rishi, Maharishi. He never bows down in front of anyone, but he bows down to Dushmanta. He says, I am telling you, I verify this is your wife and son. So eventually, anyhow, Dushmanta accepts, and as we would be reading, there will be more about Bharata, how he becomes a very powerful emperor of the entire world. Haribol.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for sharing about those. I think it's going to come in the subsequent verses as well.
I just have one comment. I think it's better not to reveal what's coming ahead, because some of us want the suspense. We have never read this before. So that's why. Don't take it wrongly, but that's how I feel.
Sure, Prabhu. Sometimes what happens is that I have not read all the verses. Sometimes it's not in sequence fully. I don't know how much they're going to cover in the verses. But I'll keep that in mind, Prabhu.
And also Prabhuji gave 3 variations. So now we have to read and see which variation here we are going to get. So Prabhuji, one question I had, if I can ask now.
Haribol.
Prabhuji, here it says like a partial expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how should we understand, Prabhuji? Or like,
Shubhavilas Prabhuji, you can answer that. My thinking is that all these great kings are coming from the lunar dynasty, which obviously Krishna is also going to appear eventually. Actually, everybody is an expansion, some form of expansion of Krishna. We are his marginal potency. And in some of the powerful personalities, it may be little more than just the marginal potency. But Shubhavilas Prabhuji, you can kind of add little more explanation.
Thank you, Prabhu. I think the Sanskrit word used is amsha sambhuta, the portion of the plenary portion, the partial plenary portion. We see that in the story of like Rishabdev also, who was also, I think, addressed here as the partial, or I'm not 100% sure how his address is, but quite similar. Even in the story of Kapila Muni. So we see that Krishna takes multiple incarnations. Some of them he manifests his energies in full, some of them in partial, as Srila Prabhu was mentioning. So we'll see if his name is also mentioned. Until this point, the name is not mentioned yet. So we'll see if his name is also mentioned. Who was that son?
yeah, it will come in the later part.
So, Prabhuji, at that point, all the populations in the universe are from only 2 dynasties? Or this is only the great personalities coming from 2 dynasties, and there is other dynasties as well?
I think we'll have to go back and see, but ultimately, this wants to share. In the back, there is a table. If you go back to the Bhagavatam, there is the whole series of this genealogical table. So, who gets married to whom? The descendants of Vivasvat Manu. That's what we are reading here. So, all the different Vivasvat Manu plus Shraddha. So I would suggest to study that, and then we can discuss maybe tomorrow. The Sun Dynasty is chapter 1, chart 1. Yeah, pretty much we see only 2, at least for the Vivasvat Manu. And then there are sub-dynasty like Pūru, etc. Any additions there?
Yeah, I just checked, Prabhuji. So here Prabhupada says that Rishabdeva is the incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, so we will pause here. It's time, and continue tomorrow and see what happens with this story of Shakuntala and his son and Dushmanta. Tantra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Purana ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyaeva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Thank you so much. Haribol.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.